everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Suggestion Box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say what? Today, my guest is the Miss Jaresha Moore. She's MBA and President and CEO of Empower on Purpose LLC, where she provides leadership training and personal and professional development, coaching and consulting services. She's a certified coach, speaker, and trainer for the John Maxwell team, best-selling author, success and empowerment coach with over 18 years combined experience in education, finance, healthcare, and business management and development and sales. She's the owner of Envision Broadcasting radio station and host of Empower Hour with Jaresha. Envisioned Broadcasting is the station that equips, encourages, and empowers others for growth. Jaresha, welcome!
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so glad you are here. I am so excited. Couple of things. With all the experience and the background that you've had, literally, I know you said that you haven't really had an opportunity to work a lot with volunteers, like managing volunteers, but you sound like a volunteer manager, because volunteer managers have to do everything. They have to do finances, they have to do training, recruiting, their counselors. So you would fit in just fine. Before we dive in, tell us a little bit about your book.
Absolutely. So my goodness, I had an amazing book collaboration that I had just the privilege to be a part of. And actually it's been a few collaborations. Okay. So there was one that was a Just Praise book. And so it was really all about just sharing praises and prayers. And that was one that I had the privilege of being a part of with my church family. Which was truly, truly amazing when I tell you that it was just absolutely amazing and out of this world. The other one, and again, book collaboration. So I had a privilege of being a part of a leadership tidbits, a book that was truly amazing as well. And so that book was actually one that we were able to, share different leadership tips. And I partnered up with several leaders, and that was truly an amazing experience as well. So absolutely. I am actually working on putting together my own book that will be released sometime next year.
Okay.
That is called Empower Yourself. And so, yes, I'm super excited about that book. It's just, it's really amazing. And you're an author, so you know how of an amazing experience it is. And it was truly an amazing experience being a part of a collaboration. But having your own book and being able to share your own story and your own journey, it's just absolutely out. I mean, it's just out. It's been an amazing journey so far.
Nice.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that is awesome. And yes, being a fellow author, just going through the process, it's just, there's nothing like seeing the final product in your hand. It's literally, I equate it to giving birth. Like, you put all this time and work and turmoil and you're going through it, and then you finally have the product and you're holding it in your hand, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I did this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, from the book that you collaborated with leadership tips, quickly off the top of your head, one tip for the people listening who are leaders.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the book, actually, I don't think I mentioned, the book was called Leadership Tidbits. And quick tip was, truly my chapter in the book was about empowering yourself. So in order to, develop as a leader and, really empower someone else, you have to know how to empower yourself first. And it's, looking at the inner, your inner leader and developing yourself first before you can empower anyone else. So that would be my quick tip to share with everyone empower yourself.
Yes.
Work on developing yourself first
Yes.
as a leader to then, before you can develop anyone else.
Beautiful. It's very much the airline thing. You have to put the mask that has the oxygen on yourself first before you can help anybody else. Because if you yourself cannot breathe or cannot function, how can you possibly help somebody else? So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And when that happens, we will have you back. So
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening, you are taking that first step. You are working on developing yourself, looking inside. And that is why we are here, which is the perfect, what's that thing called? Segue. Yes,
Yes.
the perfect segue into feedback. Learning how to handle it, not letting the good stuff go to your head and you become arrogant about it or narcissistic. But then also not letting the bad stuff go to your heart and hurt you in such a way that you cannot move forward. So, Miss Jaresha, come on, give us a little something. It could be good, bad, say what? We always like to say what, because you're like, how do people even form their mouths? But it doesn't always have to be that, traumatic. Even if it's something that was like really, really good that you needed to hear, but it hurt, but you were able to grow from it. Talk to us. Go for it.
Okay. So I will tell you, oh my goodness, this is probably, after I say this, you'll probably think it's along the lines of say what? Like, did you really just say that? I was in the corporate world. So this was some feedback that I actually received in, so I'll say feedback / advice. First it started off with saying, oh, you're doing such an amazing job. And, we definitely appreciate the work and everything that you're doing.
Buttering you up.
Absolutely. And then I was asked about my actual, development plan and my own growth journey and growth track within the organization. And after discussing that, then it was actually strongly suggested and recommended, highly recommended, that I follow a path that was put before me by the VP. And, those that are watching, listening may say, oh, what kind of path? Maybe, they probably were looking at your best interest. But at the end of the day, I will tell you that no matter what that feedback advice looks like, if it keeps you in a box, no, that's not good feedback. If it insults you in any way and keeps you in a box based off of the path that they want you to be on. So that was one of those moments I was like, I'm sorry, what? What? So, and I will tell you that it was very bittersweet because of the fact that it was such a learning experience when you're actually, there and in the moment and you're hearing someone suggest or even highly recommend something that is not along your path or your journey, something that, because we all have built up, you have all this experience, you have, education and all of that, to back you. And then when it's recommended that you take a path that actually puts you a few steps back versus moving forward, just based off of where they want you to be, was very, 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 very bittersweet. But what I'll tell you is I walked away from that and truly understood the power of personal development and owning it. You have to own it for yourself and know your value, know your strengths, know what you bring to the table, so that when you have those conversations with someone who says, you know what, they may not come out and say it to you like that, but we'll pretty much put it like, you know what, I want to keep you in this box. Right. You don't feel like, okay, I'm going to stay in this box. No, what, you know the path that you want to go on, and you will not allow, yourself to even your mindset and your feelings and everything else to kind of go with it. I'm not going to say that I didn't have, because it really upsets you. It makes you frustrated. And that's why I said it was very bittersweet. Because at that time, I was definitely looking to, try to climb up the ladder, and to hear something like that from a VP who, we look to, right. And so I'm like, oh, I don't understand. Why is this recommended? And so at the end of the day, I just, I want everyone that's listening to understand that you can't be put in a box. You know, that when someone puts you in a box, you give them control over, you know, your destiny, give them control over, you know, the path that you're going to take and, you know, which direction you move, whether you move this way or that way. And I truly learned that day that if you want something, you have to go out and get it for yourself. And you can't let anyone keep you stuck in this box. You know, I'm like, oh no, you know, I refuse to let anyone, and that's in all aspects of our life. You know, it's not just in a professional world, it's in personal, because I definitely feel like when it comes to that feedback, you know, sometimes it may be from a friend, it may be from, you know, it may be from a family member who gives you feedback and you're like, you know, it really makes you feel some kind of way, you know? So I just think that if you know who you are, you know where you're trying to go, and you're working on that path to get there, don't allow anyone to keep you in any kind of box that they want to keep you in, because they don't see your worth. So absolutely.
Yes. Know your worth.
That's right.
Know your worth. As managers of volunteers, we spend so much time calculating and trying to like show our bosses or show the organization the worth of the volunteers, not only monetarily, but the impact that they're having and all of these types of things. So don't forget to do that for yourself, because the same way that you can present that impact that the volunteers are having on the organization, it's the same for you, because those volunteers or interns could not make that impact without you at the helm, directing and guiding and leading them to do so. So in that, don't forget to remind them who you are as well. Now don't act all crazy, but like, let me tell you who I, like, don't get crazy with it, but just make sure that they know that this isn't just happening by magic, you know? So Jaresha, I want to ask you then, so after you got that feedback and you were like, I am not staying in this box, what did you do? Like, what did it prompt you to do? How did you respond to it? Not necessarily to them, but like, you were like, okay, so clearly you had a plan in your head. What did you end up doing?
You know, honestly, at that time, it allowed me to really look at it, you know, get the clarity as far as, did I really want to move up within that organization, or did I really want to focus more on, you know, really what I wanted to grow, where I wanted to grow. And so at that time, it you know, like I said, it was very bittersweet, because I actually had to take a couple steps back within myself to process the whole entire thing and say, okay, you know, this is how they see you. And you know, why is it how, you know, they see you as being in this box? Now, mind you, I have never put myself in a box. You know, I've never put myself in a box. And so I'm like, well, you know, so for me, it was really me having to kind of take a couple steps back to evaluate what I truly wanted, if I was trying to, you know, move within that organization, you know, what that really meant to me, if I truly wanted to go and move up, because I knew that moving up meant that I would still be working along with that particular VP within that particular department. And so I had to get some clarity. I really did. I had to get clarity and really evaluate some things from a standpoint of the corporate world. And then what that meant was, you know, really making some moves. I call them boss moves, making some boss moves and making some changes within, you know, the direction I was trying to go. And for me at that time, I was looking to, you know, really go hard with my business.
Yes.
And so that really kind of prompted me to look at some things, like, you know, and I'm very spiritual as well. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, you know, help me understand, you know, what's going on, and to really process this whole thing. And so I did. And again, that really took me taking the time to get clarity and develop those strategies to then move forward and what that looked like for me. So that's what I did. I think that with any kind of feedback, you know, that's what you really have to do. I think you have to look at it from all angles and every aspect of it, different perspectives, because again, depending on what that feedback is, certainly if it's not the greatest feedback, and, sometimes we have a tendency to, not really be the best of receiving
Yes.
that feedback. So, and I will honestly say that I know that over the years, I've definitely grown on, being able to accept that, that criticism and that feedback. But at the same time, depending on what that feedback looks like, because, for me, I think from a corporate standpoint, when you're looking at it from an employee to a manager, and vice versa, it can look a little different. There's some things that a manager or a leader may see, and whereas the employee, so if there's anything that you question, and I'm thinking of really more or less at an evaluation type, setting, I definitely would say that, those that are watching, speak up. If you don't feel like that feedback is, truly accurate, ask questions. I think it's okay to say, well, help me understand why this is the feedback. You don't just walk away and say, okay, and then we walk away upset and, not really feeling like, well, that I don't understand why. And then so I think that you have to be willing to ask questions about the feedback. If it's good feedback, if it's bad feedback, get understanding so that when you walk away, you're not feeling some kind of way, and you truly understand everything that was going behind it. And you can have that open discussion about the feedback. So that is, that is what I will say as far as,
no, I love it.
As far as that. Yeah.
That is perfect. That is perfect. So, so in all of your years of business, you've clearly managed people. Not only have you reported to people, but you have managed people. So have you learned to give feedback in a way that it is palpable to the people who are having to receive it, especially if it's difficult?
That's so good, because there are those times that we have to have those difficult conversations. I think that's just the way that life works. And that's either from a personal standpoint or a professional. We have to learn how to have those difficult conversations. There have definitely been, times when I've had to have those difficult conversations with someone. And I'll tell you, I'm always, I think it's just by nature, I'm very, I'm empowerment, all about empowering and empowering others. And so I really try to get an understanding, as what I was mentioning, understanding of, having that conversation with someone, and depending on what that feedback, looks like, or, if it's something that you have to share with someone, and get a better understanding as to why, the why that's behind whatever that may be, the feedback that you're, going to be giving. I've definitely had to have those tough conversations. And I think when you do have those conversations, I think you have to be willing to listen to the other person. Certainly, as I mentioned, I'm all about empowering others. And so I definitely think with understanding and not just saying, okay, this is the feedback that I'm going to give, if it's bad, whatever it may be. This is, what I'm going to bring to the table. I have to tell this person, some bad news, or give them bad feedback about whatever a project or whatever it may be. Not just coming and saying, okay, this is it, but how can you work with that person to, move forward? So how can you work with that person to then, if there's some areas they, lack, that you can help them develop. And so I think that when you come to the table to deliver, any kind of feedback, I think you always should have some kind of plan, some kind of strategy for, what happens next. What kind of action steps can you take, to move forward? And that's whether it's positive or, not, maybe the best feedback that you're going to give, negative or, bad feedback, however you want to look at it. But, for those tough conversations you need to have some kind of strategy and action plan. But also you need to be willing to listen to that person. Because it's nothing like having feedback that you have to deliver, or maybe it may be a lack of understanding. I mean, like you don't know. And that's why I think it's so important to come to the table with a plan, deliver that feedback, and then be willing to have open discussion about the feedback, how the person can grow, and I think that should always be a part the feedback that is, having to be delivered. So.
And I've heard all sorts of different ways of being able to do that. They call it like the sandwich method. Like you start with something good and then you deliver the hard stuff and then you end with something good. And there's all different things. Like people can Google all different ways.
Absolutely.
One of the things, if you like have an HR manager, they're a really, really good resource to tap into. Because I know when I had to fire one of my volunteers, I went to my HR manager and a couple of times she coached me through it. And there was one that was a little bit just more difficult to handle. And she actually did it with me. So a lot of times when you're having these conversations, you don't necessarily have to do it alone. You can find somebody that can coach you and mentor you through it. And maybe even the first, second, third, fourth time to learn how to get to do it and then move forward. Right. Especially with her being in HR for 20 something years, she's got it down pat. So it's like, don't feel like, oh, I've never done this and I have to do it on my own and figure it out. Like, ask somebody. And one of the things that I've heard many, many people say, and it's so true, like when you think of the greats, right? You think of Michael Jordan, you think of, oh Lord, why can I not think of this? The golfer. What is his name?
Tiger Woods.
Thank you. We're editing that out. Okay. You think of Michael Jordan. You think of Tiger Woods. You think of LeBron. You think of, dang it, why can I not think of these athletes' names? The swimmer, the really awesome Olympic swimmer, the guy who's been winning everything. Oh my gosh.
Not that one, I'm not sure of.
Oh Lord. I don't know why I cannot think of people's names right now. But anyway, so we're just going to stick with that. Okay. When you think of Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Tiger Woods and all of these phenomenal athletes, the one thing that they all had in common is that they had a coach. They did not get to where they were without the input and feedback from somebody on the outside guiding them to where they needed to be. So why is it that we think that as we embark on things like the first or second or third time, we have to go it alone and do it on our own? Look for somebody to help. And depending on whatever stage it is, like if it's, you have to start firing people, look for somebody who's done it 100 times. Learn from their mistakes. I mean, yes, you're going to make your own, but learn from them because that's going to help you and it's going to build up your confidence and it's going to help you learn how to do it the right way. Because let me tell you, there's definitely the right way and the wrong way to do it. How do I know? Been there. When I tried to have a conversation with a volunteer and they went off on me in the hallway to the point where my boss was like, why don't y'all take this into my office? Because I was like, I was not backing down. I was like, ain't no volunteer gonna be talking to me. And she was like, I should probably take that in. I was like, oh, dang, okay. So, and then we had a discussion about what would have been a better way to handle it later. So, it's like, get that coaching. Don't be afraid to ask somebody to help you. So I'm just going to ask you though, do you have a story, maybe like one of each, of a feedback session that you had to give that went really, really well, and a feedback session that you had to give that just did not, like, I don't know, the person like walked out crying? No, I'm just kidding. But like, do you have any of those stories that you could share so that other people know that they are not in the boat alone?
So I will tell you, I do have a good feedback, but like a good feedback story, but from the other side, I'll have to think about that one. But those are really great questions. So yes, I do. I actually had an employee, and this was in the corporate world, of course. I actually have two. So I just thought about another one. So in the corporate world, I did have to have a tough conversation with an employee who was not pulling their weight, so doing their work, and on a particular project, and so and at this point, I was actually a new a new manager. So I was very new, and, was actually told by the CEO at the time. She was my boss. And so she said, I need you to have this conversation with, your employee at this point. And so I was like, okay. Again, right off, when I tell you, like, I don't even think the whole manager title had even set in. Really,
they're like, wait till the new girl gets here. We'll let her do it. It was like your initiation.
Exactly.
Welcome to the team.
Exactly. So I opted to actually I ordered in lunch, and had this particular employee come to the office, and we had a conversation.
Okay.
We had a conversation about what was going on. There were some things that was shared, and from a personal standpoint.
Okay.
And so I very much was kind of winging it along, to let them know that, I wanted to understand what was going on.
Right.
This employee shared that, again, there were some challenges going on in her personal life. And as a result, there was a lot of stress and worry from that was trickling into her job performance and all of that. And so, I wanted to, understand that what was going on with her. Right. Because I, of course, just now starting, this position as a manager, I didn't really know her.
Right.
But, I just felt like, okay, let me just have a conversation. Here I am. And let me just set the tone too, because this particular, person, I am younger than she was. So here I am, younger, coming in the door, trying to tell her, like, listen, this is what I need, and I knew it was all in the approach and how I handled it. So we sat down, had a conversation. I let her know that, I wanted to understand, what was going on. And I asked her if she felt like she needed help, and how could I support her during this time. So that was really, really, I think, key and very important, because of the fact, like, she felt, comfortable enough to open up to me to a certain degree. Because, she didn't come in and just spill all out of her, all her business.
Right.
But she felt comfortable enough to open up to me to a certain degree. And then I assured her, because we were a very small team, so I assured her that, I would support her and help her through the process. And one, that opened up her being able to trust me. Two, I didn't say, you need to act right, or, get it together, whatever's going on from a personal level, you need to leave that at the door when you walk in. Because that's not, realistically, do we do that? When stuff is going on in our lives, I think we have to have compassion, especially as leaders. We have to have compassion to actually sit down and understand what's going on with, your employees, your volunteers, your interns. You have to sit down and and understand what's going on in their lives, in their personal lives. I'm not saying we have to be nosy and get all in their business.
You gotta be all up in it.
Exactly. But you do have to understand, what's going on, especially if it's affecting how their job, their performance and their productivity, from a job standpoint. So, luckily from that, we were able to, support her, offer additional support with that. And I actually, I had to kick in as a manager and, pull my weight even more, pull some of hers to help along the process. And that's what we did, as a team, as a leader. You have to step up and show your team how it's done, especially if you're trying to build that trust and show them as a new leader that, I want to pull my weight. I want to, we're going to grow together, and that is all about team. So that was my experience as far as the good, the good feedback.
Y'all I hope you took notes on that. And if you didn't, rewind it and listen to that again, because there is so much good stuff in there. Especially from so many different aspects of it. Number one, especially the power behind listening and getting an understanding of what is going on, and not bringing down the hammer to begin with. And then secondly, being there to be that support. Thirdly, being there to be somebody that could be trusted, and knowing that if somebody comes to you confidentially with something that is going on, that they know that they can trust you enough to open up, but that it's not going to end up like in the entire office and everybody's going to know all your business, because that is something that could prevent somebody to coming to you and having, and not saying that you need people, you want people coming and telling you all in their business. I mean, if they want to, that's fine, but you also don't want people to think, well, the only way, she's going to help you, she knows all about, because that's not it. But it's just being there at the meeting them where they are, and the level of comfort that they are, to share enough so that they know that you care, they know that the organization cares, and then being there to help pull the weight until they get to where they need to be. That is how you create loyalty beyond measure. And those are the people, when you are, in a tough spot and you need people to step up, those are the people that are going to be there to have your back. But you have to sow that into them, and you reap what you sow. If you sow mercilessness, you're not going to get what you need when you need it. So man, again, rewind up, rewind, not what I said, but what she said. That was like amazing. Oh my gosh. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
I have another one that I want to share from a business standpoint. So this one, wow. So this one was not the best situation. So this particular, and I'll give you just a little bit of a back history on it. So from a business standpoint, of course, you're wanting to build a team. And so as a part of that team, naturally you have, sometimes you may have like a virtual assistant or someone to kind of help with different pieces of the business. Just so happened, I actually got connected with someone, and I wanted to see how everything was going to go. You have the interview process and all that for assistants and all of that. And so everything was great. Until it wasn't. And exactly. And so had a project and that I wanted this person to work on, and found out that in working on that project, that the work on the project that was done was actually not the person working on the project, but the person actually hiring someone else to work on the project. Okay, so from a business standpoint, it was very interesting because I found out, because just so happened so the person actually hired someone that was already a part of my team. Yeah. Now, how do you have that conversation? I was like, what are you doing? Okay, so the conversation was now talk about a hard conversation. And and all about
oh my gosh. Okay.
All about empowering someone through it. How do you then go to that person and say, you know what, at this time, I appreciate the work that you have done. However, it has been brought to my attention, and it was brought to my attention because the person actually forwarded information that had, So then I had to have this tough conversation with this person and say, you know what, I definitely appreciate what you do. I wish you much success on all future, your business, and as you continue to grow. But I want to give you this feedback. I want to let you know that when someone hires you for a project, hires you for some kind of project, this is what is the expectations,
right?
For you to complete the job, not necessarily for you then to hire someone else. And exactly. So it was a very interesting, the person apologized for it.
Okay.
I kept it very short, let the person know that, it was brought to my attention. And I just want you to know that, I noticed, I know, I thank you so much, but at this time we're not going to move further with other projects. And I truly hope that that was a lesson learned, because I definitely feel like with each, any kind of feedback, experience that you have with someone, there's a lesson from both sides that you should pull from. So if you walk away from feedback and you feel like you didn't learn something, then you need to reevaluate, that whole process and what happened and all of that. So it was a lesson learned for both sides. I definitely feel like from my standpoint, I was like, it kind of blew me away because of the fact, but I'm like, you know what? I really have to kind of vet through some things a lot more than what I did. So I learned that early on from a business standpoint. But sometimes you just don't know when that's going to happen. But certainly, I think it's one, you have to make sure your expectations are set early on.
Yes.
So that and I think that some things are given. You would think that some things would be given. When you hire someone for a project, you expect them to be the one that complete the project, not necessarily the contract, out with someone else that's already on your team. I'm like, what are you doing? So, but it was fine. It was definitely fine. It was a learning lesson. I truly hope that the person learned from it as well and does not do that, moving forward. So,
did they know that the person that they hired out worked for you?
No, they didn't. Not at all. Yeah.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. Because my whole thing is like, okay, coming from the overall big picture business thing, right? If they want to contract somebody out, okay, maybe they're just getting so much work, but at least letting you know upfront that sometimes if I'm not able to do it, I do hire out people to do because then at least upfront. And you are aware that you possibly may not be getting this person, because then at that point you can demand, no, I want you. And if it's not you, then I don't want to move forward, because then at least that person knows, okay, well, I'm going to contract out somebody else's, but not, a little bit of transparency. But that's, what do I know? I mean, I wouldn't, but see, that is how I just believe that's why you are always in your intention. If you are trying to do the right thing, things are going to work out in such a way. You didn't even have to go look for that. It came into your box. You didn't even have to be worried about, is somebody, no. It was like, oh, by the way, hey, Jaresha, I just wanted to let you kind of know. Inbox. And I just believe that those things happen not by coincidence.
That's right.
Those things are lined up, and are very purposed. Yes. But what I really appreciate is you could have just been like, you know what, I want to break the contract. I don't want to do this anymore. Thank you. And never said anything to her and walk off with a grudge and be like, oh, this chick, and walk away and have that. I mean, I know this is like super deep. I'm probably taking it to a whole nother level, but have it like blacken your soul, so to speak, walking away with this grudge. But all that does is hurt you. It doesn't hurt them at all. And it doesn't help them at all. But you were courageous enough to confront her. And people take that word confront like it's combative, but it's not. It's just you were willing to have the conversation with her, not only, cancel the contract, but like, this is why. And I hope it's something, and I'm wishing you the best. You had grace, you had mercy. And it's one of the things that we were just talking about, the way with which you deal with other people is the same way with which you are going to be dealt. So that if you make a mistake or something happens, that same mercy is going to come back to you. And I really applaud you for that, because you didn't have to be so nice about it. You could have just been like, that's it. And then blackballed her. Y'all don't hire her.
Yeah.
You didn't go through all of that. You were just like, hey, let's use this as a teachable moment.
That's right. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Love Love, love. Okay, man, Jaresha, thank you so much. This has been so great with all sharing, because there's nothing like those real stories when you are in like the midst of it and you're like, what do I do? And I just love it because people will realize that we are all in this and we are all going through it and learning from each other. That's how we help each other to grow. So I have just a couple more questions for you. The first one would be, what is either the greatest challenge that you've ever had to overcome, or the thing that you are most proud of that you accomplished so far in life?
Wow. That's a really, really great question. So, greatest challenge, I will honestly say that for me, the greatest challenge that I had to overcome from a professional business, is really, I had to learn how to get out of my own way, get out of my own way and get out of my head.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness, we don't realize how much we hold ourselves back. And it wasn't, and I'll tell you, it wasn't something that just kind of, it was like, you know what, I figured it out just like that, like overnight, because I didn't.
Yeah.
It actually took some time for me to realize that I was in my own head, and stopping myself from really doing and having what I wanted in life. And just to kind of break it down in a particular situation, before I started my business, I was in my head, I was in my own way, with even launching my business, because I felt like I had to have all of these things to line up. I needed to have this, I needed to have that, I needed to have a website. And so I made all these excuses instead of just moving forward. I had already, set up everything with the state, but yet, I didn't move. I was like, okay.
That whole letting perfection be the enemy of the great.
Oh yes. Oh, it was crazy. Okay, I had to get out of my own head, and I have always been that one that felt like it has to be perfect before I move forward. It has to be perfect. Oh, before I put this out, it has to be perfect. It has to be this. And I'm like,
I'm sorry, I don't normally like to cut people off, but this is just so like, a lot of times that comes from the potential feedback that we could get. Look at this person, they put it out, it wasn't even ready, this didn't work, that didn't work. And because we are so afraid of putting out something that might be less than excellent or less than the best, because of how people are going to view us and the feedback that we get stuck in, no, it has to be perfect, as opposed to just being great and going with it, or screw it, just being what it is and growing into being better. So, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Keep going.
No, that is so good, because that is so true. We don't do the things. We don't, we let ourselves get caught up, as you said, into what people are going to say, and people are going to think this. And, for me, it was because I felt like it had to be perfect. But, there are times where we feel like, oh, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to launch this, I'm not going to move forward, because what if such and such says this, or what if they think this? Who cares? Just do it. Listen, I believe that everyone has greatness inside of them. Do not let anybody's feedback keep you from letting your greatness shine.
Yes,
just
girl, shine. Yes.
That's right. You better do it, okay? And I had to get out of my own way and just do it, and then walk away, because we want to do it, and then we're like, oh, maybe I should, no. Once you do it, it's out there.
Yes.
Let it be great.
Wait, have you seen my podcast? Yeah, it needs some work. I'm getting there, but goodness gracious. Yeah.
Let it be great, but you did it. That's the whole thing. You did it. And and the thing that we don't realize is, when we don't allow our greatness to shine, and whatever that looks like, that means you are taking away from somebody else being able, you being able to add that value to them. Someone is waiting to hear this. And if we look at it that way, like someone is waiting for your story, your podcast, whatever that may be, just do it. Just do it. Because like I said, someone is waiting for your story. Someone needs that. Someone needs to hear your journey. Someone needs to, needs to be able to tune in to your podcast, to your show. They need that. Yes. So when we don't, we're taking away from them.
Yes, they need you to start that program, that initiative, that task force, that whatever within your team, starting the internship program, starting the mentorship program, whatever it is that in the back of your head, you keep saying, oh, I should do it, but forget all that. Start with where you are. And the best thing about it, I'm going to have to put this in the show notes. I will never forget. There is, I'm old. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the whole Indiana Jones movies. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. There is one scene, and I'm going to put it in the show notes. There's one scene where Indiana Jones has to cross over this big canyon, something, whatever, to get to the other side of something, to get some medicine for somebody. I don't even know what it was. But the whole point is he had to cross over this huge canyon, and it was a huge, huge drop. Like if he stepped out, he would die. And the people on the other side were like, come on, you gotta come on. And because what's happening is he's getting these clues and he's reading these clues and they're telling him what to do. So he gets to the edge of this cliff and this clue is like, you need to just step out and, cross over. And he's looking down and he's looking back at the clue and he was like, there's nothing there. If I step out, I'm going to plunge to my death. So all the other clues had basically, come to pass and everything. So he was just like, I'm just going to step out on faith. I don't know what is going to happen. What he does, he steps out and you could see him, like he closes his eyes because he's like, I'm about to die. So he steps out, and as soon as he puts his foot out, a bridge appears and he's able to cross over without problem. But had he never stepped out, the bridge would have never appeared. It took him having to take that step to get started. Woo! And that's the same thing with all of these things that we are doing. If you're not really sure, it's okay. Just start, and you will see how resources and people all of a sudden will just start finding you. Start finding you. And I tell this story often, so I don't even know, like if you're watching this podcast or listening to it, you probably heard it 1,000 times, but sorry. It's kind of the whole GPS thing, right? It can't tell you where to go until you're moving. You can put the direction into where you want to go. That's the goal. That's that thing that you keep thinking that you want to do, right? But it's not until you're driving does it give you the next direction. It's not, if you are not driving, it's not going to tell you make a left at such and such a street. It's still waiting for you to drive. It's still waiting for you to go forward. And as you go forward, then it's like, make a right. And if you make a left, then it's like, recalculating. We need to help you get back. So there's always going to be something there to get you back on the right path. But if you are not moving, nothing can help you. Nothing can push you forward. Nothing can guide you to where you need to go. So just step out. It is amazing. What will happen? People will be like, you know what? I see what you're trying to do, and clearly you need some help. This is what I like to do. Let me just help you. I'll just volunteer to help you. You have no idea. People, the resources and everything will just come from out of the blue. You never know, but what you can guarantee is that if you don't step and if you don't start, nothing is going to happen. Woo! I don't know where that came from. Thank you, Nina Jones. Thank you.
I love it. Yes.
Man. Oh, I love that. Getting out of your own way. Hurry up and write that book, girl. We're going to have like a book launch.
Absolutely.
So, okay. This is the last thing. I like to do this little thing because it's fun and it helps everybody get to know you. And hopefully I end up having like 3,000 podcast episodes. And everybody will know everything about me, probably to my fiance's dismay. But okay, so pick a number 1 through 3,000, and I am going to ask you the question, and then you answer it, and then I will answer the same question. And if you don't like the question, we can change it because I'm the boss. So
sounds good. Okay, so the number, let's see, 77.
Oh, okay, 77. All right, hold on. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is interesting. Have you ever had an internship? And if not, what would be your dream intern job?
Ooh, that's good. Have I? Oh, so I can tell you for sure that I have never had an internship.
Okay.
I would my dream job. Oof. Honestly, I mean, I would honestly say my dream job is being the CEO of a business, which I am. But if I had an opportunity, and this is not to change up the question or put a little spin to it.
We do what we want. We girl bosses. We do what we want.
So if I had an opportunity to really shadow someone, or I would love to shadow Michelle Obama. Can I tell you, even just for a day or even 2 hours, 3 hours, I would love. I love her. I absolutely love her and look up to her so much.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so have I ever had an internship? Yes, I have actually had 3. One was in a graphic design studio. We're not going to talk about that. Then there was one at a TV station, and one at a web TV station. It's called the Softball Channel. And I had internships at all of those, and they were all pretty good. My dream intern job, where would I want to intern? Who would I want to intern for? I mean, I know it's probably oversaid and overdone, but as an entrepreneur and trying to make all of this stuff happen and learning about who I am and overcoming challenges and being a Black female in America, I would love to intern for Oprah.
Yes.
And
she's going to be my next one.
Everything, and especially because of the television background that I've had and the radio, the media, radio, TV, all of that. And, just all of the things that she had to overcome and still made it. I would love to intern for her. I would also hope that I would like it, right? Because you know how people I want to, but then their standard of excellence is high, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? I could rise to the challenge. Because a lot of times people want what the greats have, but they don't want to do what they have to do to get there. But I'm willing. I'll do it.
Yes, me too. Absolutely. Sign me up. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. All right, you all. So, Jaresha, I want to thank you again so much. Tell everybody how they can hear about, not how they can hear about you, how they can find you, because you have your radio show, but also because you are a certified coach, speaker, and trainer for John Maxwell. That might be something that people might be looking in terms of how to train their teams, just all these different things. So how can people find out about you? How can they reach you? Tell us how we can find you.
Absolutely. So thank you. Let me just say thank you. This has been truly amazing. Truly amazing. Thank you for having me on your show.
My pleasure.
So how you can find me, actually you can reach me from my website, which is www.empoweronpurpose.com. I am on the social media platform, so you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Jaresha Moore. And then you can also tune into the radio station in my radio show, and that is www.envisionbroadcasting.com, or you can download the app on Google, in the Google Play Store, or the iTunes Store as well. And we're on Alexa now, so you can say,
yeah, okay, yes,
yeah.
well, you come a long way since the last time we had it, girl. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. So absolutely. But yeah, you can follow me there. If you want to shoot me an email, you can always reach out to info@empoweronpurpose.com.
Yes, Jaresha. I can't even talk because I'm like so like my brain is just processing all of this amazingness. Thank you again so much for being our guest today. And for those of you who are listening, who, maybe you need help getting out of your own way, reach out to her. She is going to be more than happy to help. Start following her. Listen to her show. There's like amazing stuff and tidbits. This was just a little bit. Listen to her show. I'm going to put all of it in the show notes. You don't have to worry about writing it down. Just go find the page and it's all going to be there. But thank you so much for being our guest. And thank you all so much for joining in for this episode. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you want to continue to get the awesomeness that is in store, click the subscribe button down at the bottom. And just remember that we are talking about things from the suggestion box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say what, not letting the good stuff go to your head and the bad stuff go to your heart. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.